I'm Amanda Knox, and you're listening to Hard Knocks. Welcome to another AAA AAA Ask Amanda Anything, where I will answer any question you ask. And of course, I'm going to privilege those questions that are coming from subscribers. So make sure that you subscribe on Substack. But in the meantime, Chris will be asking those questions on your behalf.
And of course, I will be prodding and poking to get your best answers and to earn my spot on the couch as it happens.
All right, let's go. What do we got? What's going on in the world?
So our first question says, I just quit my job of 10 years working in insurance. I'm 41, have a bachelor's degree in English, and no idea what I want to do with my life. What do you suggest?
Okay.
And I'll add a little tag here. I hope you, Chris, Eureka, Echo, Mr. Fats, and all your other loved ones have a great week. Thanks for making the world a better place. P.S. I just made a donation to the Texas Innocence Project and to Rain in Meredith's memory.
Oh,
just very sweet.
That's really
and
nice.
Maybe tells you a little bit about the kind of mindset of this person, which maybe helps guide your advice.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Well, if The Incredibles are any lesson, I think your next job is superhero. But yeah, good on you to get out of a soul-sucking life scenario.
She didn't describe it as soul-sucking. You just added that.
Well, again, if we're to just take The Incredibles as that's my only access into insurance is The Incredibles, and it just looked miserable. So, great, awesome. I'm assuming it was soul-sucking, but even if it was mildly fulfilling, it clearly wasn't fulfilling enough, and actually, you know what? I am going to assume it was soul-sucking because the majority of people do not just drop all of their security and everything they know for the unknown.
Yeah,
right?
But you know, maybe there's a predatory boss. There could be all kinds of reasons why you might quit a job.
Okay, but she's not getting another job in insurance, right?
Well,
it's not.
That's true.
So it was soul-sucking. The evidence is clear.
All right.
I have Sherlocked this scenario, okay? So that's great. And I think that I have never been in the scenario of having pursued a career and then done a hard pivot. I feel like my entire career at all has just been constant pivoting. So one little moment of reassurance that I have for you is that there is always a new direction, and good on you for having faith that there is a path that you didn't have to see it ahead of time in order to know that it's there. It's amazing what even I think that what my first point of advice for you would be to take stock of what skills and wisdoms you have obtained so far, even from this soul-sucking career that you've had. How has this career changed you, informed you, and take stock of all of that you have to offer, basically. And I think it's really cool to imagine how the challenging parts of your career, all of those things that, aren't exactly considered, for instance, there's a lot of things that I learned about navigating conflict and high pressure scenarios and interpersonal dynamics from prison. I would probably make an incredible HR person. Didn't go that direction, but because my passion is elsewhere, and that is where I would then say to you, okay, what are you curious about? What, when you think about it, gives you energy? what is a thing that you actually feel like you want to do? And it could be like something that makes you nervous to do, but like the idea
Mm,
of doing it is exciting, or at the very least, like has you picking yourself up to do it. Because like doing things and taking the risk to do things, you have to overcome a lot of inertia. And so, like, if you really want to go on a track and you want to take a new direction, like, very often there's going to be some difficulty up front, right? Like, you have to earn your place, you have to build up a skill set or a network. And so, that is going to take some hustle. And so, what is it that gives you that sense of having the energy to do the hustle? And then the other, maybe completely opposite point to that is, where do you feel like the universe is sort of pushing you? Because one thing that I have found has guided a lot of my pivoting is like, I'll have like a plan. Like, oh, I have a vision for what I want to do, and I'm sort of moving in that direction. But it's like, I feel like I'm encountering closed doors or hallways that
mm,
seem to never have an end. But along that, like, endless, indefinite hallway, I'll feel a really strong nudge in another direction that I was not expecting. Somebody reaches out to me and says, "Hey, Amanda, like, I need you for this thing." And like, that's how we got into podcasting. Like,
mm.
like, no, at no point did Chris and I ever think we would be podcasters. But then someone reached out and said, "Hey, Amanda, I'm doing a true crime podcast, and I think that you would have a really valuable voice in that space. Do you want to do it?" And I said, I felt that nudge. And that nudge, I also felt the momentum of my curiosity about that and that new idea about myself. Like, oh, yeah, you know what? I do have a lot of this like baked in knowledge and opinion about this topic that I would be very equipped to share, actually. That was a really great sign for me. And that has worked out for me in the sense that like it brought me in a direction that has been sustainable-ish, but also led me to other things that have made my life very fulfilling and sustainable, and has built for me, it's given me the opportunity to find myself in new situations where parts of myself that had laid dormant but absolutely were there have been allowed to thrive. And I've got to rediscover parts of myself that I really haven't like interacted with since freaking high school. Like being on a stage and performing in front of people. I didn't go to college to become a performer or a public speaker. I had no aspirations of being public in any way. I was going to be a nerdy translator translating poetry. That was my vision for myself. And then life happened and the world happened and a lot of pivoting happened, and I rediscovered that part of myself that is really powerful and comfortable in a performing space. And so that discovery was allowed because uh hard things happened, life happened, and instead of fighting the change, I really went with it and embraced it. So good on you, first of all, for taking the first step of just embracing the change, feeling the nudge, even if it was uncertain. And then I would just say, keep being curious about where that nudge is taking you. Hear the voices of people who are asking for your attention and asking for what you have to offer, and see what windows and doors are opening, and go for it.
I'm going to undercut absolutely all of that.
Okay.
I think it might be terrible advice.
Okay, cool. Great.
So,
I know it's worked out for me, but why is this terrible advice?
Well, this is one I want to point out. This is an English major talking to two English majors. So let's just put that cards on the table. We're all the people in this conversation who decided to go get English degrees.
Not
so I'm not even
very
sure
smart.
our advice
You
is,
can't
yeah,
trust us. You
no.
can't
I
trust
have two
yourself.
master's degrees in
Wait,
poetry, you
no,
know?
no, 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 no. So she didn't say that she wanted to become an investment banker and be rich, right? What was the actual
I
question?
I have no idea what to do with what I want to do with my life. What
Okay.
do you suggest? And so what I want to interject here is a couple things. One is that for every person, I think there's a different balance between stability and risk,
Mm.
and sort of passion and boring, right? So like it may be the case that if you follow your passion, which is cross stitch, that it's really hard to monetize that. It may be the case that there's an easy way to monetize a different skill that you happen to be good at, but which you're not thrilled by. And all of us are making a choice about where we land on that continuum. And we don't all have the same tolerance for instability. You and I have chosen to go for our passions in a big way, but that has also come with a lot of instability in our income stream. We don't know. That's why we've had to constantly pivot, as you said. Not everyone is someone who enjoys or is, I think, adapted toward constantly pivoting. So I think one question might be, are you that kind of person? Because if so, the follow your passion advice maybe is great. But if you're not, and that's going to give you perpetual
So
anxiety,
basically you're
you
like,
know,
is the actual quitting of your 10-year career uh an actual choice, or you're just having a midlife crisis is what Chris is asking.
yeah, I mean, and then the other thing I would say is,
I think that midlife crises are made fun of and they're totally valid. Like it
oh,
is
sure. I mean,
absolutely
look, I
like
haven't done a single thing for 10 years in a row, right?
so who's to say, sir, that her passion might not be teaching? Like that could be a completely stable thing. I didn't tell her to go into podcasting. I told like who said maybe she has like I didn't she why are you assuming that like the only thing people are passionate about is like hobbies? Like that's
uh,
not
maybe because the things
no.
I'm passionate
Yeah,
about
no.
just don't earn money.
You just want to make stupid like art
Well,
and
English,
like
bachelor's in English. I don't know. I mean, I'm making an
a
educated
lot of
guess.
English, majors go into teaching or
And
go in,
podcasting,
yeah, and podcasts.
marketing.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is you mentioned this a little bit about the feeling nudges.
Mm-hmm.
And I think another way to think about that is this idea of Li, Li,
Mm.
which is a Taoist idea about that means like the grain in nature. It means the patterns in wood or jade or the swirling of water.
It's just the flow. It's
Yeah,
go with the flow is
it's the flow.
basically what it
And
is.
so I think it's really important to look at the flow of your contemporary society. And that includes things like technology and it includes things like AI. And so, like, I think about what I want our kids to do. And if someone is asking me about like career advice, a portion of that is, well, you do want to make a living, I presume. It's not just go off and be a hermit in the woods or,
Hey, actually, she didn't say that either.
She didn't
So
say career, but she also didn't say, and I'm independently wealthy,
no,
you
but
know?
like you don't have to be independently wealthy. Like say she is feeling a pull, like a spiritual pull and decides that she wants to go and live in a monastery. You don't have to make money to do that
Well,
either. If
that's
your
true. There's a lot of
nudge,
missing
there's a
pieces
lot of
here.
missing pieces here. If you're
Yeah.
I'm not like so I think you're making the mistake of assuming that she was asking for career advice for how best to make money. That's not what she
Well,
asked for.
the question began with mention of a job and
Okay.
quitting a job. And now what do I want to do with my life? And I think it's reasonable to assume the what do I want to do has to involve some kind of work. That it's a work
Not
related question.
necessarily.
I mean, if the answer is never work again, like that's a choice that you can make, right?
Yeah.
It might not be luxurious unless you're independently wealthy, right?
I
But
mean, she could be like, I want to be a sugar baby.
well, that's a kind
Like,
of work.
okay, well, fair.
Yeah.
But like, I'm just saying that there are lots of ways to be that aren't, I need to find my next job. You're right that if the question is related to a job, and it's like, if the question is specifically, how do I find a job that I actually want to do? And it's not more of a question of what do I want? How do I feel fulfilled in my life? Like, if that's true, then sure. But I think you are totally misinterpreting Lee, because I think any Taoist would tell you that the feeling and the nudge from within comes first. You do not look like, it's not about the Lee of like, is there AI or not, and does that mean that you shouldn't go into a journalism career? Like, the Lee of it all is when you sit back and recognize who you are and what your place is in the world, you recognize that there are constant openings, that there is a there your energy is being called into various spaces, and it's not going to be called into a space that's being filled by AI, right?
Well, I disagree with your interpretation of Lee there. I think that like the pattern in nature, like nature is what's around us. You're part of nature, sure. I'm not going to say that the feelings and urges inside of you don't matter here, but the idea, the metaphor that Alan Watts uses that I love for this is the rowing versus sailing. Like that's all about looking at the forces that are buffeting you or that are creating opportunities for you and seeing how you can act in relation to those forces in a way that's going to get you where you want to go or to get you somewhere
Chris
profitable.
thinks that you should be an electrician.
Well,
Go into a
yeah.
trade is basically what
I
Chris
mean,
says. Go into a
plumbing,
trade. And
I
fair
think,
enough,
yeah.
like, we as parents are looking at the world and are going, maybe the world of higher education isn't actually a fit choice for the next generation. And what you really want is a career, if you're looking for financial stability, is a career that requires hands-on, like, being a person in the field kind of work. But again, that wasn't her question.
Well, what
So,
do I want to do with my life? I think encompasses a variety of things, but noticing that, say, human presence is one of those things that is not quite replicated yet or not near being replicated by the various AI tools out there. But like writing, articles for newspapers is very quickly being taken over, right? So like if that
yeah,
was your
anything that
passion,
Chat
you know,
GPT can do,
yeah,
that's not for you if you are looking for financial stability. That's for sure. Um, and that includes everything that we do, by the way. We are 100% in the process of being replaced by AI. And lo and behold, I'm looking at theater gigs.
yeah, well,
So,
live experience, right?
all right,
Okay, moving on.
we can move on.
This comes from Molly. How do you maintain your sense of humor and optimism despite the dark, enduring nature of your story?
Mm. Yeah, at the screening yesterday, as we are recording, we had a screening yesterday, or the day before. Oh God, what day is it even?
Yeah, 2 days
The
ago,
2 days ago, as of the day of this
we
recording.
had a premiere screening for our new documentary, Mouth of the Wolf,
Yes,
which is now on Hulu.
and and afterwards we had a Q&A, and someone asked that same question of like, how do you seem to be so smiley and optimistic and open with people, and how do you do that when you've been through everything that you've been through? And the answer is that, one, I'm lucky in that sort of naturally I am a people loving, people curious, human connection kind of person. And in fact, one of the people that showed up at the screening was one of my science teachers from middle school,
Hmm.
and she told the story of how when, like, there was a pool party to celebrate like the beginning of the year, is kind of like an icebreaker. I don't know who thought a
Yeah,
pool party
for a bunch of
as
middle
an
schoolers. Yeah,
icebreaker for people going into middle school was a good idea.
yeah.
What pervert's idea was that? But apparently it was. And she said that I was the first person to jump into the pool because everyone was sort of like standing around being nervous, and I was like, let's go. So like, I'm naturally a person who is prone to Um,
You're also the first person on the dance floor.
yeah, I'm the first person on the dance floor. Like I'm
Is that because
uninhibited in
you're
that way.
immune to judgment? Or does it wash off you? Like you
Um,
don't seem you were never you think you're just preternaturally unself-conscious because the reason most people aren't the first person on the dance floor is because they don't want to be the object of attention and have everyone scrutinizing their dance moves. It's much easier to go out there and dance when there's 20 people out there, right?
I mean, the way I always have looked at it is somebody has to be the first person. And if I want to be dancing at a dance party, or if I want to be swimming at a swimming pool, somebody has to be the first person. And so whatever, I'll just do it. Like,
So like
so
what's notably absent from your answer there is like any sense of concern about what other people think about you.
so I think that everybody wants to participate. I think everybody is at the pool party to swim. I think everybody's at the dance party to dance, and they just need permission to do so. And I do not ask permission from other people to
So
do the
it's
thing that I want.
I mean, it's
Like,
cool that you're like that, but I
okay,
suppose if you're
well,
talking to a person who wasn't like that and they're
but
like,
this
but
is what
I don't want to be the first one in the
and
pool.
you
I
know
don't,
what?
what
That's
do you say to
okay.
them?
No, that's okay. That you doesn't have to be you. It'll be me. Like, like there's somebody like me out there everywhere who it's not about I think it's literally like I just know everyone is at the party to do the thing, and somebody needs to be the first person that
So you're
doing the
thinking
thing that
about
we all want to be doing.
you're thinking about other people in
Yeah.
this context. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about myself because I just want I want the dance party to start. I want the pool party to start. So let's go. And also, I know that somebody else is like feeling awkward. And it's like, you know what? I'll do it. Like, whatever. It's like, it's not, I don't know. Again, part of this answer is that this is how I'm sort of constitutionally. Like, this is just sort
Yeah.
of always how I've been. And as a result of that, that part of me took a major hit when that sort of like uninhibited, quirky part of me was used to vilify me. Like, oh, she's quirky and uninhibited. That means that she's capable of murder. Like that, like there's the huge leap. This is where
Mm-hmm.
like everybody who knows me is like, well, yes, Amanda's quirky, but that doesn't mean she's a psycho. Like she's the good kind of quirky. She's the reason why everyone's swimming in the swimming pool. Like
Yeah.
that's the good kind. Like this is not the bad kind. Like you don't know what you're talking about. In the same way, like, oh my God, sorry to like go off on a completely different subject, but like the number of people who are like, oh, there was some blood drops in her bathroom. How did she not realize there's a murder? It's like, do you even know what it is like to live with a girl? Do you even know? We shave our legs. We have razors on our body on a daily basis, and we have periods. We have what are you talking about? Blood, it's like that is a common occurrence in all bathrooms where any woman has set foot. Like, what are you talking about? Like, just like the disingenuous, like, people saying, oh, well, she was quirky, or oh, there was blood in her bathroom. It's like, yeah, I'm a woman. Like, what are you talking about? So anyway, sorry, not to get off on a tangent because, ugh. But okay. So that part of me took a major hit. And I felt very, very huge consequences. I suffered huge consequences, years in prison, because
Mm-hmm.
some people decided to, I think, intentionally subvert this personality trait of mine and punish me for it, just actively punish me for it. And when I got home, I didn't just like automatically go back to being the first person on the dance floor. I stopped going to dance floors. I stopped going to pool parties. I didn't go to karaoke anymore. I didn't go out in public anymore. I was afraid. I was I was beaten. I had I had learned my lesson. Um and I was so fucking lonely and I was so sad and my world felt so small and a part of me died. Like this is an energy that's in me that was quashed, was buried. And it was only over the course of like meeting other people who understood and embraced the sort of like little light in me that had been diminished but was still there, like that would still sort of peek out because it's just an inherent part of me. And their eyes would light up, that I was reminded of, like, I was given permission again to not just be that person who's open and starts the dance party and starts the pool party, but, like, I realized once again that it was a power, and it also helped me to realize that, like, it was not my fault and there's nothing wrong with
Mm-hmm.
this quality of mine. And I think that, and in fact, it's like a big part of how I establish human connection. Like, I love people. I'm a huge people watcher. I love interacting with people. I love sharing emotions with people. I think it's super fun to be at a football game, not because I care a smidge about football, but just because, like, I like being around people. And I like the energy that we have together. And I love human connection. And so I think that it's just like, in spite of everything, I'm happiest when I'm connecting with people. And I have found that in the years that have passed, I'm being punished less and less for it. And instead, I'm being rewarded for it by people who just say to me things like, wow, like, when you tell your story, I feel really validated. Or people who say, oh my gosh, I just love, like Chris, he just loves how I am a dork. Or, or like playing D&D, it's just like so fun. Like, everybody needs that person in the room, and I feel needed and I feel valued and I feel understood. And it's
Sounds
taken a
like
long time,
it
but
sounds like this is, the answer to this question a little bit is like, how do you maintain your sense of humor and optimism despite the dark nature of your story and your history? It's that, well, you lost it and you had to fight to get it back.
mhm.
You didn't just maintain it. Like you had to
I mean,
rekindle
or
it.
like I think what it is it's like my sense of humor was like in there, it was still in me, but like it was trapped by
Mm.
fear and by shame. And it, but it like, it's still my sense of humor and my optimism and my love of people make me happy. And so anytime I have permission, or even better, am rewarded for that, like I grasp onto it. I think that's just, I'm predisposed that way, and I feel like I'm really lucky to be that way. I think it's much harder for those who struggle more,
Mm.
or that who have like more mixed feelings about like social connection. I tend to be the kind of person who's I don't hold a grudge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm always trying to see the best in people, and as a result, like my frame of mind is typically one in which I I really embrace the good interactions that I have, and I'm pretty good at letting go of the bad interactions that I have, as long as I feel like they're not, like, a repeating thing, like,
Yeah.
some bad behavior you have to, like, set boundaries with, but, like, otherwise, like, if someone just says a sorta thing that's not nice, like, it doesn't, like, bother
I mean,
me.
I think I would also say that it's a skill.
Hmm.
Like yes, you're preternaturally disposed to be good at that skill,
Mhm.
perhaps, but I have witnessed you actively build the skill
Mm.
through meditation and through reading and time thinking about Stoic principles and so forth to be able to face continued bad things and setbacks and then say, how can this be a good thing?
Mm.
You know, like we get turned away from the customs in Japan and denied entry because of your criminal record. And you have a moment of panic, but then you're like, okay, how can this be a good thing? And like that is a framing technique that you're employing in your life
Mm.
to actively help you maintain a sense of optimism and find the humor and absurdity in something when it's otherwise a darkness, an obstacle, a setback, etc. So like,
Yeah, I mean, I think
you
that,
know,
like, yeah, that's a good point, and I think another thing that I've sorta kinda known since I was little is, and this is just through lived experience, is that valuable things can arise from difficult things.
hmm
Like, I don't associate difficulty or challenge or even grief necessarily with only bad emotions. I've had a lot of experience with how difficult situations can lead to good things. Like, running soccer practice until you throw up, like, leads you, I mean, you become stronger, you become more fit. Like I know I know on a deep visceral level
hmm
that that is possible. And so I tend to, when I'm in a bad situation, once the actual panic wears off, like, okay, I need to immediately respond to, like, a situation. Like, once that's off and you're more in, like, the despair zone, I don't get stuck in the despair zone because I'm typically looking for the silver lining already.
hmm
Because I sorta always kinda have faith that there's something there. Because I feel like as long as you're alive, there is always something there, and you just have to find it. And so, that too. This episode of Hard Knocks is brought to you by Hero Bread. So in our house, we go through a lot of bread because we have two small children who eat nothing but empty carbs.
And let's
And
be
that's been a
real, bread
problem.
is delicious. I like bread too. You know, I like a good bagel or a breakfast burrito. But
But we've been trying to sneak protein, fiber, anything into their diets. And lo and behold, we get Hero Bread reaching out to us and offering this sponsorship. So, what is Hero Bread? Well, it's bread, like, regular sliced white
I
bread
think
or
you can't
seeded bread.
stress this enough. Like, it's bread. It's
Yeah,
fluffy. It's moist.
it
It's
toasts.
soft. It toasts well. It does all the things you want bread to do, but it comes with lots of fiber. It's low net carb, 0 grams of sugar. One of the bagels even has 19 grams of protein.
So, I would give it a try. And if you want to give it a try, you can go to hero.co, that's HERO.co, and use the code word KNOX to get 10% off at checkout.
Really, try Hero Bread. Like, I was skeptical. This is just delicious bread. It's delicious bread, and I feel a lot better eating it just physically in my body than I would have if I had been eating your old fashioned empty carb bread. Moving on, this comes from Oscar, and this is about Mouth of the Wolf. Mouth of the
Okay.
Wolf has many intimate and seemingly private moments.
Mm.
How do you decide what belongs to the public and what still belongs only to you? Where
Mm.
is the line between honesty and self-protection?
Great question. And actually, a lot of people have asked me that in light of Mouth of the Wolf, because I don't think anyone was really expecting it to be as intimate as it is.
Yeah.
Um,
It's kind of an
it's
unprecedented level of thanks to me
Yeah, you
filming you and your
abusing
yeah, abusing
your
my
position.
access.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's really personal. Um, and I think that some people might fear that I don't really have a stable or healthy relationship with privacy because I've been in the public eye since I was 20 years old, and the most intimate details of my personal hygiene and life were under scrutiny for, you know,
In the
internationally
worst possible way. Yeah.
in the worst possible way. Great. So maybe I'm like a little bit like trauma bonded to overexposure kind of thing. Like, is it a sort of like, uh,
I think you kind of are. Yeah. I mean, I think you, I'm not to
and you're like,
psychoanalyze you here.
excellent. Yeah, no, I
Well,
mean,
just like, that this sense of here I am. You want to judge me? Like, fine. Here's the real me. See it all because
well,
there's nothing
except it's
bad to see
not
here.
see it all because I'm very open about myself, but I am not an island. I am part of a network of people,
Hmm.
and I have to acknowledge and respect that some ways of exposing myself are also exposing other people who may not want consent to being exposed.
Yeah. So basically, what you're saying is your sense of ethics here for protecting the privacy of others limits in some ways the things you're willing to share about yourself. But in situations, and for example, I'll just name the elephant here. Like Amanda doesn't really talk about her past romantic relationships in public. We don't bring that up on the podcast. She doesn't really talk about it in her book, Free, etc. Because as you said, like those are situations and relationships formed by two people and you need their consent to be able to talk about it. Right.
Yeah, and I didn't
Totally
even like,
makes
and for the
sense.
record, I didn't even bother to ask for consent, because not because it's like they wouldn't, I know they wouldn't, but like it's just I know that that's just not something that is for public consumption. It's not, because it's not necessary. It's it's yeah, it's not necessary, and it's not additive, and it's too costly. And
So,
well,
but
no, I'm not done. Not
okay.
so.
All right.
But then there's also other parts that, like, y'all think you know everything about me. Like, you don't. You don't. Like, you don't know everything about me. I am remarkably
Well, this
open
is what I
book.
want to know. Like, set the ethics thing aside. Like, when
Hmm.
you're talking about other people, okay, are there situations where it doesn't involve other people, but there's just a part of yourself that you prefer to keep private?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that there are degrees of that in everyone. Um, I mean, I think that there are even thoughts I've thunk that I've never even told you, you know? Like, we've told each
What?
other. I know. I'm allowed to have thoughts that I just have all for myself, and that's okay. I think that when I think about what I want to share versus what I don't want to share, I think about the why. Like, I'm
Hmm.
not just sharing for the sake of sharing. There's a reason. I'm trying to, like, if I've learned something about the world or about how to live well, or, whatever that I feel like is valuable, and that's not just valuable to me, but valuable to other people, I want to share that thing.
Hmm.
But in order to share that thing, I have to give context. I have to tell the story of how I arrived at whatever insight or realization that I've had that I want to share. And so there's a reason for it.
Totally.
And I don't share things when I don't feel like there's a reason for it. Like
I
that's
think a
that
really
that
good
simple.
example of this would be we did 2 miniseries on labyrinths back in 2021, somewhere around there. Um, one about infertility
Mhm.
and one about pregnancy.
Mhm.
And, the infertility one,
That
the
would be
first episode,
2021 and 2022 because our daughter was
yeah,
born mid 2021.
that was about a miscarriage that Amanda had, was the first episode, and us being very public in sharing our grief and emotions around that process. And then that led to telling the stories of many other people dealing with various versions of infertility. And that came about in part because you and I were feeling like it was this secret club that no one would really tell us what was happening
Mhm.
until until it was too late, until you had gone through the process and experienced that grief. And I had wished that like
Yeah.
there was a podcast like the thing
Here's a
that,
good
that we made,
example.
you
Here's a good
know?
example of when I decide to say something is when I think, God damn it, I wish I had known this earlier. Like
Yeah.
anytime that is how I decide everything that I write. When I
Mm.
realize something and I'm like, oh my God, if only I had known this sooner. Someone else needs to know this sooner than I learned
Yeah.
it. So,
And it is tied in though with your strange relationship with public scrutiny though. Like the pregnancy series we did was in part motivated by the fact that we knew that when the birth of our daughter was made public, when
mhm,
it was discovered, and it
mhm.
would be discovered, that there would be tabloid stories about it. There would be news articles. People magazine would do
Yeah, yeah,
something
yeah.
about it, right? And other people would frame what it meant for Amanda Knox to have a baby. And so we didn't want the only story out there to be those voices. And so we decided to tell our own story about it. But in doing so, we also were caught in this same thing, like with the miscarriage, of realizing like going through a pregnancy for the first time is trippy and weird and hard. And there's a lot of big question marks, and it can seem really opaque. And you can read books about it, and there's all that. But honestly, what I wanted was the thing we ended up making. Like, I wish I had a podcast that I could hear people talking about their anxieties and difficulties and the questions they're asking themselves as they struggle through this situation. And so it didn't exist, but now it does for you, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. And like I'm thinking about how we have a really great friend who is the kind of person who I love her because she's very similar to me in this regard where she she says things and does things that other people might be embarrassed by,
Mm-hmm.
but she's just like I don't need society's permission. Like when we were both pregnant around the same time and she had a son and I had a daughter and we went and visited and I was about to go change Eureka's diaper and she was like, "Can I come with you too? I've actually never seen a baby like cooch." And it's like such like a weird thing to say and nobody would say that out loud except her. But
Ah.
she was like, I have to deal with like my little baby's penis all the time and now I'm curious about what a little baby cooch is like, like she was just like, "Can I just like go with you and help you change your diaper?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course." And it's like I don't think that that's like it doesn't say anything weird about her. She's just like a person who is
Mm-hmm.
a curious person. I'm a curious person too. Like I get it. And so I love that. And so like the kinds of conversations that you can have with someone like that, where
Mm.
like you can just have a very genuine conversation with someone like that and say like, "Hey, do you always like having sex with your partner? Or is sometimes you're just like, get it over with? And she'll be like, oh, girl, let me tell you, like she's not gonna like sugarcoat her life or put it through a filter. Like she'll like just give you the goods. And because she's really curious about how things really are, and I'm really curious about how things really are. And so I'm also the kind of person who is maybe potentially prone to oversharing compared to other people. But I feel like that's the only way that we can understand our lives.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's a shame that people don't share more and aren't more curious. And I still think that it's bizarre that, like, for instance, you don't ask your brother, like,
I don't
qu-
talk about sex with my male friends. Yes,
like,
that's
I
true.
just find that insane. Like, how do you,
I
any of
don't kiss and
you,
tell. I'm sorry. I
well, but
just
it's
don't
not
kiss and
kiss and
tell.
telling. It's more like, how do you learn about what, how do you know if you're doing things right or like if
Pornography teaches you what's normal and real in
yeah, of
sex.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. No, like how do you like if you're grappling with a feeling and you're confused about it, like you're just doing that alone?
Yeah, I mean, a lot
Alone?
of people go onto Reddit and post anonymously,
Okay.
that's the method.
But like do we have to do anonymous Reddit threads or can we just like have conversations with each other? Like I don't know. I'm just that way.
What you're suggesting here is that it's liberating and freeing, and the scary thing actually evaporates, and you often find unexpected benefits from doing
Yeah,
this.
and
Yeah.
connection, right? Like it's nice to be like, "Oh, you have that too? Okay." I feel way less like weird and complicated about it now knowing that other
Yeah.
people feel this way too.
All right. Last question.
Great.
This is also about Mouth of the Wolf. This comes from Delia.
Okay.
Your husband, Chris, is the director and shot most of the new documentary, Mouth of the Wolf.
Yeah.
How did Chris, being your husband and not just a filmmaker, change the way this story feels for viewers and for you?
Mm. Well, for viewers,
Putting me on the spot
yeah,
here.
for viewers, I mean, what a treat, right? Like I think that it's completely different kind of documentary. It's unlike any documentary. I mean, there are very few documentaries out there that where the POV is so pronounced,
Hmm.
right?
And
Like
close.
and close. Like typically your
Yeah.
documentary is a omniscient third, narrator, like omniscient narrator,
Mm-hmm.
and this is very first person, very up close and personal, um, and very Chris. Like it's not me narrating it. And I really like that because honestly, it takes the burden off of me. Like I think it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of cool that the burden's not on me to explain everything and be the only one who has feelings about what is happening.
Yeah.
So I like that is shared. Um so yeah, that is really cool for me. And I think it's really cool for the audience because it gives the audience the ability to appreciate me in ways that they've like never had the
Mm.
opportunity to before. Like any other documentarian would not have spent the amount of time that you spend on things that people didn't even know to be curious about when it came to me.
Hmm.
And so like you give but like weirdly, I think this is like a thing that's been overlooked by media all this time is like I think one reason why people are intrigued about the case is because they're like, but like, who is really this Amanda person? Like, there's all this stuff
Yeah.
that's happening around her, but like, who is she? Like, who is this person? She's this enigma, and it's like, I'm not an enigma because I'm
Yeah.
unknowable. It's like I'm an enigma because no one bothered to know me, and you
Yeah.
bothered to know me, and so like the audience really finally gets that, like, oh, I really know her now, and that's really cool.
Although
Um,
I would say that you, going back to the privacy thing, like you've been putting yourself out there in a very public way for quite a while, especially on this podcast.
well, but
And like,
I
you
think that
know,
it is different though when it's from another person's eyes, because I do think that there is a level of maybe like skepticism potentially
hmm,
when it's like, well, here I am presenting myself this way, but I might not really be this way. And it's different when it's like, no, 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 you see me all the time in all the ways from all the angles. And
yeah,
basically you're sharing that almost all the angles with everybody. And so that's really cool for the audience. What is that like for me?
yeah. What
On
is
a
that like for you?
I gotta say, some of the times I was super freaking annoyed with you in the making
Mm-hmm.
of this documentary. Because I was like, are you my support person or are you the camera person? Like that there were genuine times of conflict for us in the course of you documenting and then in the making of this, where like, I had like I reserved some veto talk about privacy, like I reserved some veto power over what Chris ultimately got footage of and what he was willing to put out there, but that I was not. And Chris was pulling out the camera anytime, anywhere. I was in the shower, and he's
Neck
like,
up, tasteful neck up.
yeah, tasteful neck up shot of me in the shower. I did not ask for that. I'm pretty sure that's a crime. you know, like, and so there were times where, and especially like, so there was times in the documenting of it where I felt like, hey, I wish you were just here with me.
Mm-hmm.
That was hard. And then there were other times in the making of the documentary where like you've like been making a documentary, directing a documentary, producing a documentary takes a lot of work. And especially it's a lot of like hurry up and wait. Like you're
Mm-hmm.
waiting and waiting and waiting for a thing. And as soon as you have it, you like have to get a lot of work done immediately. And it's just like the timeline is so freaking warped. There's no sane pacing of it.
Yeah.
And so what ends up happening is you're just your life is completely taken over by the making of the documentary. And I'm like, hey, I know you're making that love letter to me up there, but I'd really like your attention. Like, I haven't seen you or talked to you. Like, where is my husband? And that was hard. But I think that that's also something that I've accepted as just part of being a creative person. Like, that's not gonna like this is not your last documentary, and so
Yeah.
like that's not going to go away. I think the only thing that really like made it extra ironic is that you were spending all this time with me on screen and I was just like quietly resenting you.
Yeah. Watching these moments of falling in deeper in love with you with every
Yes.
little clip,
Yes.
and you just resenting me more and more. But I don't think you regret it, right?
No, 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 no. I don't regret it at all. And I'm very proud of what you made. And I'm really grateful for what you made. Like, in a way, you made it for me. And I hear that, I see that, and I love you for that. And I'm also really glad it's over.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
there have been times in my life when I've been above myself. And one of them that really comes to mind is when I was in poetry school. And I was also training to be an EMT
mhm,
at the same time.
mm,
And I thought, had this vision for myself. I'll become a firefighter after EMT, and then I'll like write poems in the firehouse when I'm not on a call. This was my plan.
mhm,
And this didn't materialize for various reasons. But during my EMT training, I had to go to an emergency room shift. And during that emergency room shift, someone came in with a heart attack, and I had to do chest compressions and do the ventilator bag on this person who was dying. And while I was watching them die, I was writing a poem in my head about them dying. Because my world at that time was so immersed in writing and in transmuting experience into language that I almost couldn't think without it being in rhythm and meter and rhyme even sometimes. And so here I am, like, doing chest compressions on this guy, thinking about how he's probably going brain dead right now because it's been too long and we're waiting for the family to give consent for us to stop life-saving measures. And in my head, I'm saying, the hemorrhagic berry in the brain, the heart's electric stutter thump, all the failures of the body possible, and I wasn't really in that moment. I think a part of me was dissociating somewhat because it was a scary, new, traumatic thing to be over the top of a dying
maybe
body.
that was actually okay. I'm actually not at all offended by that because I feel like you were preemptively
I mean, I was artistically encapsulating experience in some way instead of just feeling it, though. I was already giving it meaning and instead of letting it be its raw thing, And like, as soon as you frame something into language, even, it loses dimension and it becomes the specific way that you remember talking about it. Memories become this way as you turn them into stories that you tell, as you know this as a memoirist. And so making a documentary about you and about our life and these journeys back to Italy where you're confronting your prosecutor, like when I'm watching you walk into that room with Minini, like I'm there filming it. And a part of me has to have my director hat on and be thinking about camera angles and lighting. And, I'm not there living that moment with 100% of my attention, I'm
so
trying to.
Basically, you're saying you've been half checked out for the past 5 years of our life together. Cool. All right.
Not half checked out, but I'm also glad to be done with it, I will say, because it's very different to like have that, how do I make art out of this cycle running in your head as you live, and not that that's a terrible way to live, but it's just different than being present and not wanting it to produce something, not wanting your daily life or the moment that you're having with somebody to become fuel for something else necessarily,
Yeah.
And I think that can be a trap for just writers in general, even short story writers, fiction writers. And it's like, have you ever seen those hats that people wear that's like, you don't piss me off or you'll end up dead in my novel, stuff like that. And it's like, if you move through life like constantly cobbling things from your experiences with other people to inform the stories you're writing, then a part of you is not really present. You're thinking
comedians
about,
comedians like
when
complain
they
about
bit
this as
eyes
well.
everything.
They're like, I'm just trying to have a conversation with you. Stop running your jokes on me. Like,
totally. Or stop looking for the bit or the joke in the thing I just told you.
Right.
And just be present with me.
Yeah.
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 Well, now I get the experience of you doing that to me.
Yeah, it's true. I do.
Because you're doing comedy now, and it's like, I'm just trying to talk to you, and you're like, how is this funny?
I don't do that all the time.
Well, more and more these days, but you know what?
True.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
So that's all for this AAA. You know where to find Amanda and myself at amandaknox.com, at amandaknox.substack.com if you want to submit questions for the next eventual AAA.
KnoxRobinson.com is back up and running.
Knox Robinson, if you want to find out about all the various things we're doing and developing, visit knoxrobinson.com. And I guess we'll see you next time.
Thank you very much.